My number 5, part 2.
So big surprise, I have that as number 3.
I knew it wasn't your number 1.
Yeah.
I knew fucking part 4 was your 1. I knew it. I fucking knew it. I knew it. I was like, you're a fucking part 4 guy. Yeah, that's fine. Well, let's just go 2 and then we'll go to part 4. Okay. Part 2. You had it what number?
So 5? I have that as number 3.
Number 3. Oh, higher than I have it. Basic premise, it's basically a remake of the first movie, except now Jason's the killer.
Yeah.
It's the same basic plot. It's just done better. It's a quicker pace.
Yeah.
Jason is mean and fast in this movie, and I like that portrayal. Yeah. I like Baghead Jason.
I know some people don't.
The Hillbilly Jason.
I don't like Hillbilly Jason as much as I like my favorite portrayal, which we'll talk to.
Yeah. I think it's good.
I know that it's kind of a rip-off of The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Yes, and I'm aware of that, yeah.
Which it's a cool look. I mean, they ripped it off for good reason, but they still ripped it off.
Yeah, they ripped it off, 100%.
I do find that the reason why I rank this one as high as I do is because I think that they take it seriously in a way that the first one was kind of, well, let's just make a killer camp story. I think they're starting to build the
lore,
the lore behind it, right? Jason isn't quite who he was going to become, but it's kind of there. I like the characters. I like the final girl in this one.
This is the best, debatably the best final girl in the whole series, Ginny. Yeah.
I loved his little cabin.
Shrine.
This little shrine like that.
Yeah, I know. All that, you know what this movie does? World building.
That's it, right? I feel like this one does a lot of heavy lifting for the rest of the franchise. The rest of it can almost kind of like he didn't have his hockey mask, but I don't feel like his hockey mask is as defining as some of these other things.
Yeah.
Like that scene of, and I realized this was your pick, right? But I'm the one talking about it because I've got
it. It just doesn't matter. We both have it high. You have it at 3. I have it at 5. We have them both. It's both in the top 5. Yeah.
So
it's up there for a reason.
Yeah. That shrine with his mother's head
incredible
in that cabin is like the scariest friggin' shit that as a kid, like you dread stumbling across that. My parents have a cottage and my dad's a high school teacher, so we would spend all summer at the cottage, right? Isolated from the rest of the world. And there's a crystal lake near where my cottage is, where my parents'
actually
cottage
called Crystal Lake.
Yeah. And
which has nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah, when you're 11 and 12, like you can't mentally separate yourself from. So I imagine like if I go walking in the forest at the cottage, I'm gonna come across Jason's friggin'
little shrine,
ramshackle cabin, and inside is gonna be this shrine with his mother's head. Oh, everything about that one is, despite the fact that it's one of the early entries in the
it's one of the best
series, they get so much of it right, and I could see how they were able to continue doing these based solely on the strength of that one. I think number 2 is a better entry into the series than the first one.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Number 2, that's why I said the first one's basically irrelevant. Number 2 is, I think, one of the most, besides 5, I think 2 is one of the most underrated in the entire franchise. Yeah, it does not get enough credit because people just go, oh, the Baghead Jason. But it's like, there's so much more in that film.
Yep.
The kills are great, best final girl, world building, everything the first movie does, but better, great setting, great atmosphere. My favorite scene in the entire film is the scene where Paul, the campfire scene, where Paul is just holding court and he's like, I got to tell you guys something that happened in this area.
Right. It's become almost stereotypical.
It's legend.
Like,
yeah. No, but it wasn't at that time though, right? Like what became a trope wasn't then.
Right.
And that's why it's so brilliant. That fucking scene is amazing. The campfire scene is awesome. It sets you're hooked. Like he is holding court over even you. You're just like
telling the ultimate ghost story. Right?
Yeah, he's telling the ultimate ghost story. It's great. Jason is menacing. Mr. Steve Dash, who I have his autograph. Before he died, I was able to meet him. Absolute sweetheart, really nice guy. I like that he uses a pitchfork for most of the movie. That's cool.
Yep.
Like that's one of the things that part of the reason. Anyway, sorry. We'll get into the looks of Jason here in a second, but 2 is awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, 2 is awesome. It does suffer from some of the 70s shit. I think it is still slow paced.
It's very, very early 80s.
Crawls. Yeah. There's some dumb shit in it. Specifically, there's some continuity. The biggest continuity thing is like Jason was dead in 1, but now he's not in 2. And it's like it takes place a few years after the first one, but not long enough that he would have aged to being like a grown man. Yeah. So that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they hadn't quite figured out their mythology. Really,
no, they made the critical error of killing off the main villain of the series in the first movie.
Right.
Like just through the script, they're like, oh, there was no Jason. But it's like, yeah, but they want a sequel. Well, who the fuck's the killer?
Right.
Well, they got to be Jason. Well, how does that make any sense? Like, I don't know. Whatever, shut up. Yeah. Like, and that's basically the producer's answer is like, whatever, shut up. But like, see, this is why I love, and I remember I said we were going to reference something from the first movie. My fan theory is that, and I'm going to be doing a future fan theory video about this.
Nice.
Jason was in the first movie.
Yeah, I never watched that first one thinking that was actually, I don't believe that she was
alone.
Right.
I don't think she was the only killer. No, I think Mrs. Voorhees resurrected her son. He came back as a weird, twisted nightmare. And because of that, she holds a grudge against people that drove her to that level. She was murdered. He was helping her kill, because there's some shit in the first one. Like, one of the girls gets thrown through a window. How the fuck did Mrs. Voorhees throw like 110-pound sack of meat through a window?
Right.
Didn't happen. No, Jason did that shit. Yeah. So Jason's in that first movie, I'm convinced. And I think she died, he gets her head, and that explains why he immediately gets revenge on Adrian King. And the second one opens with him immediately killing Alice.
Right.
Because she kills the mom, gets away with the police, and then Jason's immediately like, oh, I'm getting this one. Right. I'm getting this bitch. And that's what happened. So I think it's a better continuity that Jason was in the first movie.
Yep.
So then problem solved. It's not a continuity error. It's a strength. You know?
I when I was a kid watching the first one, that scene never struck me as a figment of her imagination. Like I bought that as what happened. Right. So when Jason comes out of the water and pulls her out of the canoe at the end, right? Like that was what happened. It wasn't something that she imagined.
See, that doesn't really make any sense because he's a little boy, and the second one he's like a man. Yeah. So that's, I'm trying to. I'm saying man Jason was in the first one, not little boy Jason.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
I'm saying man Jason's in the first one.
Yeah.
That hillbilly Jason, he's in the first one, is what I'm saying. No, I stand by that fan theory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, he just magically aged in like 6 years? He turned into a man.
Yes.
Yeah. And all right.
I mean, there's Uber Jason, so I mean, clearly he has powers beyond.
Oh, so you admit he's supernatural? Notice how it's been now almost 4 hours. The walls are coming down, and Mark's starting to like be open to my crazy ideas.
No, number 2 is
number 2.
Yeah.
No, wait. Is that You had it.
I have it number 3.
3. Yeah. Number 2, you had it at 3.
I think from the world building that it does, not everything is sort of set from here. I mean, again, you don't have the hockey mask, but I think that there's a lot to it. Number 2 on my list of jump scares is when he jumps through the window at the end.
Oh, fantastic. Again, I said that I liked that was a recurring trope in the series. That's one of the best ones where he comes through the window. By the way, I believe that's the only scene with Warrington Gillette as part 2 Jason.
Yeah.
In case you don't know, look up that controversy of Steve Dash versus Warrington Gillette. Not getting into it here.
Warrington Gillette tends to get more credit, I think.
Did.
Yeah.
Did.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I watching that as a kid, part of the experience of these movies when you're young is, okay, I made it. Right. I don't want to admit to anybody that I'm watching this with that I was scared to death, but all right, it's over. She's petting the cat now. Everyone's smiling. The happy music is there. All of a sudden he comes flying through the window and you're right back on again. And it scared the living shit out of me. There's only one other scene in all of these movies that got me more than that one, and we'll get to that. But
it's in part 4?
Maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, part 2.
Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah, excellent. It's up there with the best of them.